Hi, my name's Rachel and I just wanted to do a short little video on what happened to me about 3 years ago. So it was right in the middle of my senior year and I was having the best time of my life. I had a boyfriend, I had a car, I had a job, everything was going perfect for me until at work my knee started hurting. Couldn't figure out why. So we went to the doctors and they did some tests, but they couldn't find anything. So they just took me on my way, and that was like in February of 2010. Later on, I started having a lot of complications. I couldn't walk very well. My knee was swelling up to about a melon. I had multiple fevers. I had lost 20 pounds just within a short amount of time. And I was getting very, very weak. Finally went back to the doctors right after I was done with my senior project and did the boards and everything. And they checked me out again and were saying, well, you either have an infection or a tumor. This was the hardest news of my life. I didn't really know how to react at the time. Obviously hoping that it was an infection, so I didn't really think about cancer that whole time. But what we had to do is we had to drive all the way up to Portland, and we live in a tiny town of Klamath Falls, so that's about a 5.5-hour drive. And I had a doctor there who checked me out, and he gave me the worst news ever. You have cancer. So at that time, I still didn't know what to think. I was just like, cancer. Like, I didn't really know what cancer was, honestly. Like, I've only heard about it, but didn't know what it did. And the cancer that I had was called osteosarcoma, and that is actually a bone cancer. Now this tumor, mind you, only grew within about 3 to 4 months. So it went from nothing, like on my bone, right above my knee, to this huge, like, melon right above my left knee. So a week after I had graduated, they actually started chemotherapy right away up in Portland. I had to drive to Portland about 3 times a month to do chemotherapy. They did an open biopsy on me, and at that time, while I was under anesthetics, they put this thing inside of me. So this was the port that was put right here on my chest so that they can access me every time I had to do chemotherapy. Now, honestly, I'm glad I had this little thing, because if they would have put it in my arm every single time, that's actually very dangerous. But yeah, this little guy was definitely inside of my chest. Like, you couldn't see it. This was like right inside of it. I have a huge scar right here from it. But yeah, my first week of chemotherapy, it was absolutely dreadful. I felt very nauseous. I may have thrown up a couple of times. And I didn't understand. I just didn't understand what all this was and what all of it was doing. He was telling me, but I was just not there because of all the medication that I was on. So what they did for me were 3 months of chemotherapy, and it was about 3 chemos every month. And then right at the 3-month mark, they were going to do the surgery. Of course, I'm super excited. I just want this thing out of my leg so that I can actually start walking and I can actually start doing things that I could do, even though I knew I had to undergo 3 more months of chemo after that. Well, my surgeon came in and he sat me down and he looked at me and said, "This is not easy to tell you, but we cannot save your leg. I can't have a leg. I can't keep my leg. I'm gonna be an amputee." This was so surreal to me. I was like, I can't do all these things that I used to be able to do. What am I gonna do? He gave me a couple of options. We can either do an amputation or another surgery that was called a rotational plasty. And it's really too complicated for me to actually explain this to you, and I'd rather you just Google it. I had about 3 weeks to decide what I wanted to do, and I was able to decide right before the surgery. So honestly, I decided just to do an amputation. 5 days before the surgery, I was just at my lowest. I didn't know what to do or what to think. And I was texting my friend who was coming back from a trip, and she didn't have cell reception at the time, so I was just texting her what was going on. I said, "Hey, I'm not keeping my leg." About 20 minutes after that, she called me once she got reception, and she said, "Rachel, you're keeping your leg." And I was like, "Oh, like, what are you talking about?" And she started talking about how I need to keep a positive attitude throughout this whole thing. Like, I need to fight for my leg. Her and my other best friend came over when she got back in town, and we all prayed together. And I just knew, I'm keeping my leg. Like, I'm not losing my leg. They're gonna save it. A lot of people in my family and my other friends totally doubted me, did not believe that they were gonna save my leg. The doctor said that, you know, you're losing your leg, like why can't you comprehend that? And I was just like, no, I'm keeping my leg, like I know I'm keeping my leg, like you gotta understand me. Barely anyone would believe me, and it was really difficult. So I just knew in my head, like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to prove you wrong. So when it came time for surgery, they were prepping me, and I still just knew that my leg was gonna be saved, that I was gonna keep my leg. I just knew it. So I go into surgery, I come out, and the first thing that I remember is just waking up and wiggling my toes on both my legs. But then I remembered watching this documentary on something called a phantom limb and how your brain still thinks that it's there. So I was kind of nervous at first. I saw a nurse walk by and she was coming towards me, and I couldn't talk because they still left the breathing tube down my throat, so she pulled it out. And then as soon as that happened, I asked, hey, is my left leg like still here? And it's funny because I don't think she knew what surgery I went through. And she looks down and she was like, oh yeah, it's right there, you're fine. Hallelujah, I freaked out. Like, oh my gosh, I was so excited that my leg was still here, that I could actually do all these things that I thought I could never do again. The look on my family's face and the look on my friend's face was absolutely amazing. Like, it was so cool for them to see that, hey, this actually happened by the grace of God and by the amazing surgeons that were in that room helped save my leg. After that, I had 3 months of chemotherapy to do just to make sure that there were no spots that came back, and so that they could kill off that at that time. And during those 3 months, I was trying to rehab my leg as much as possible. Like, you know, it was in a straight cast for about a month and a half. And I took it out and started walking on it immediately, which may not have been the best idea. I wanted so much to start walking again and to start doing the things that I knew that I should be able to do. So after those 3 months of chemotherapy, I ended it January 2011. So that's when my hair started growing back. Yes, I was bald throughout the whole time, and trust me, it's better to be bald going through chemotherapy than to not. 3 months later, at my checkup, they found a spot in my right lung. I had to undergo more surgery with that. Now, when they went in, they realized that the tumor was on top of my lung, which was best case scenario, actually. Also, the tumor was smaller than what they thought, which was completely amazing. I was supposed to be in there for 5 days, and I left the very next day. So how's my leg doing? It's doing fantastic. I am actually a part of CrossFit, and CrossFit is just so much fun, and it has rehabilitated my leg to where I can actually do more than I have done, and that just amazes me. The mobility in my leg is just, it's amazing. Like, I can actually do all these things. I am now doing lifting competitions. Like, I don't think I look like someone who would be in a lifting competition ever, but I just did one in June 2nd, and it was a state competition. I was kind of at the lower of my class, but the fact that I was able to go and participate, and that everyone around you is just so supportive and just wants to see you succeed, it was such an amazing feeling. So without the help of my coaches and my brother, now being a coach at CrossFit, I would not be able to do a clean and jerk of 120 pounds, or a snatch at 85 pounds, or a back squat of 135 pounds, or a front squat of 130 pounds. All these things, like, I never imagined that I could do any of these things, like, ever in my life. And now with this leg, like, I feel like I can just do anything. And I am tired of living life on the side. I want to live life to the fullest, completely. Now knowing, like, what I've been through, and it's so hard. You take life for granted. And not on purpose, it's just you don't see, like, what life would be like without a leg, or without an arm, without even fingers. Like, it's hard to imagine unless you are put in that position. And so I just want this video to inspire you guys to get out off your bed or off the couch and, like, go do something incredible and amazing. Like, go on a hike. And I just want to inspire anyone who is fighting cancer right now, like, keep going, keep pushing. Like, you're going to make it. Please, please don't give up. There is life on the other side of cancer that I am living right now, and it's so beautiful and it's so amazing, and I've met so many people and I've made so many friends, and I just want to let you guys know, like, it's just so amazing on the other side. So keep fighting. If you guys have questions about what I have been through, like any specifics, any questions at all, like please leave them in the comments below. Please subscribe. I'm going to be making more videos on like stuff that I'm going to be doing, whether it's with CrossFit or just being with friends. I want you guys to see the life that I'm living right now. I hope you guys all have a good day, and I will see you later.